You know, when you see a company announce some massive world-changing project and you just think, how on earth are they paying for that? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful financial strategy that makes those huge ambitions a reality. I mean, look, it's easy for a huge company to say they want to fund a global expansion. Finding the cash is the hard part. But the real trick, it's convincing lenders to give you that money at the absolute lowest interest rate possible. And that, right there, is the billion-dollar question at the very heart of corporate finance. Okay, so to make this feel a little more real, let's follow a hypothetical company we'll call Oceanic Logistics. They're a successful shipping firm, and they've got this huge, bold plan. They want to expand into 6 new global locations. Awesome, right? But there's one massive thing standing in their way, the absolutely crushing cost of borrowing all the money to make it happen. All right, let's get right to the core of this whole thing. For any lender anywhere in the world, it really boils down to one simple calculation. The more risk they see in a loan, the higher the interest rate they're going to charge you, right? It's their way of getting paid for taking a gamble. But, and this is the key, if you can make that same loan look incredibly safe and secure, they'll turn around and offer you a much lower rate. And that brings us right back to our company, Oceanic Logistics. Their entire challenge, their whole mission, is to change how lenders see them. They've got to answer one simple question. How do we make this giant loan look so ridiculously safe that it actually becomes cheap? And the answer to that question is a strategy called credit enhancement. Honestly, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a whole set of financial techniques that are specifically designed to add extra layers of safety for the lenders, which in turn boosts how good that debt looks. You know, the best way to think about it is like a financial safety net, but for the lender. Oceanic isn't just walking in and saying, hey, trust us, we'll pay you back. No way. They are actively building a structure that guarantees the lender's protected, even if things go a little sideways. So the big question is, how do you actually build this safety net? Well, let's open up the financial toolkit, so to speak, and look at 4 of the most common ways to do it. Okay, first up, the third-party guarantee. This one's pretty easy to get your head around. It's basically like having a super wealthy and reliable friend co-sign a loan for you. The whole idea is just to bring in a stronger player to back you up. So here's how it works in the real world. A stronger company, maybe a parent company or a huge bank, steps in and makes a legal promise to repay the loan if Oceanic can't. Now, the key insight here is that the risk doesn't just disappear. It's just been shifted over to the guarantor, who has much, much deeper pockets. And for the lender, that simple shift makes all the difference in the world. All right, let's grab the second tool out of our kit. What if, instead of relying on somebody else's promise, you could guarantee the loan using your own future earnings? Well, that's the whole idea behind something called an escrow of future cash flows. Now, this is a really clever way to build confidence. Oceanic could say, for example, okay, all the money we make from our most profitable shipping routes, that's dedicated to this loan. And that money doesn't just go into their main bank account. Nope, it goes directly into a separate protected escrow account. The only thing that money can be used for is to repay the loan. For lenders, this creates this incredibly predictable, walled-off source of cash just for them. Okay, our third method, we're moving away from promises and future cash flows to something you can actually, touch, physical assets. We are talking about covered bonds. And this technique is all about giving lenders some cold, hard collateral. So with this method, investors aren't just taking the company's word for it. The debt is literally covered by a specific pool of assets. For our company, Oceanic, this could be, say, a whole fleet of their newest ships. If the company were to default, well, the investors have a direct claim on those ships. That extra layer of real physical collateral makes the whole investment dramatically safer. And that brings us to our fourth and final tool. Now, this one is probably the most complex, but it is also incredibly powerful: securitization of assets. At its heart, this is all about bundling assets together to create a brand new financial product. Okay, let's try and trace the flow here, because it can get a little tricky. Oceanic takes a bunch of its existing assets, think about future payments that its customers owe them, and they bundle all of that stuff together into a brand new financial package. Then, they sell pieces of that package to investors. Now here's the magic part. Those investors get paid only from the cash that's generated by that specific bundle of assets. It's completely separate from Oceanic's overall business profits. It is a really, really clever way to isolate risk. So, okay, after a company goes through all the trouble of using one or more of these sophisticated tools, what's the actual result? What's the real bottom line for a company like Oceanic Logistics? Well, the result is this really powerful chain reaction. You see, without any of this enhancement stuff, lenders see high risk. That means you get a lower credit rating and, you guessed it, high interest costs. But with enhancement, that perceived risk just plummets. And that boosts the credit rating and, here's the big one, it brings the cost of borrowing way down. And let's bring it right back to our company. For Oceanic Logistics, this is everything. I mean, the money they save from that lower interest rate, that can be the difference between an expansion project that's just a pipe dream because it's too expensive and one that's actually profitable and makes financial sense. It literally unlocks their ability to grow.
But, and this is really important, there's a crucial warning that comes with all these tools. Credit enhancement is not a magic wand. It can't just swoop in and rescue a business that's fundamentally flawed or already failing.
Really, at its core, all this stuff does is intelligently rearrange risk. That's it. It shifts it, it repackages it, all in a way that makes lenders feel a lot more secure and protected. The underlying business itself still has to be solid enough to actually generate the cash to pay everybody back. And all of this leaves us with a final question to chew on. When companies use these complex tools to slash their borrowing costs and fund their growth, are they just engaging in overly complicated financial engineering? Or is this just what smart, strategic business looks like in the 21st century? It's definitely something worth thinking about.